My name is Sarah Mitchell, and at 38, I thought I had it all figured out. Senior Vice President of Business Development at Meridian Solutions, a mid-sized consulting firm in downtown Chicago. I'd clawed my way up from an entry-level position 12 years ago, working 60-hour weeks, missing family dinners, and sacrificing weekend brunches with friends. But it was worth it. Or so I thought. I drove my silver Honda Accord to work every morning at 6:30 a.m., grabbing my usual Grande Pike Place roast from the Starbucks on Madison Street. My corner office overlooked the Chicago River, and I'd earned every square foot of that view. The company was struggling. Our biggest competitor, Hartwell & Associates, had been stealing clients left and right. Revenue was down 30%, and whispers about layoffs echoed through the hallways. The board was getting antsy, and CEO Margaret Chun was feeling the heat. That's when I knew I had to act. I'd built relationships with 3 major corporations over the past 2 years, relationships that could save our company. Microsoft's Chicago branch needed a complete digital transformation consultant. Boeing was looking for supply chain optimization. And the big one, Walmart's logistics division wanted to overhaul their entire Midwest distribution strategy. These weren't just contracts. These were company-saving, career-defining deals worth over $15 million combined. I spent my evenings at Gibson's Steakhouse, networking with executives over perfectly cooked ribeyes and expensive wine. I attended charity galas, industry conferences, and even joined the Chicago Business Leaders Golf Club, despite hating golf, just to get face time with decision-makers. My husband Tom would joke that I was married to my job. He wasn't entirely wrong. Our 2 kids, Emma and Jake, were used to mom working late and missing soccer games. But I told myself it was temporary. Once I landed these deals, I'd finally have the security and respect I'd been chasing. Little did I know that success would become my biggest mistake. The pieces were falling into place. The contracts were within reach. But what I didn't see coming was the knife that was already being sharpened behind my back. What happens when your greatest achievement becomes the very thing that destroys you? The Microsoft deal was my white whale. I'd been courting their regional director, David Park, for 8 months. Coffee meetings, lunch presentations, and countless emails had built the foundation. David was impressed with my team's proposal for their digital transformation, a comprehensive overhaul of their legacy systems worth $8 million. "Sarah, I've got to be honest," David said during our meeting at the Purple Pig, twirling his linguine. "Your proposal is exactly what we need. The board loves your timeline, and the cost structure is competitive." My heart raced. This was it. Boeing came next. Their supply chain director, Lisa Rodriguez, had been burned by consultants before. She was tough, skeptical, and didn't suffer fools. But I'd done my homework. I knew their pain points, their budget constraints, and most importantly, their internal politics. "Most consultants come in here with cookie-cutter solutions," Lisa said, sipping her coffee in Boeing's conference room. "But you actually understand our business. That's rare." The Boeing contract was worth $4 million. Combined with Microsoft, I was looking at $12 million in new business. But the crown jewel was Walmart. Their Midwest logistics director, Marcus Thompson, controlled a massive budget. They wanted to revolutionize how they moved products through 6 states. The contract was worth $7 million and would put Meridian Solutions on the map as a major player. I'd spent countless hours studying Walmart's logistics challenges. I knew their distribution centers, their pain points, their seasonal fluctuations. When I presented to Marcus and his team, I could see the light bulbs going off. "This is the most comprehensive logistics proposal I've seen in 15 years, Marcus admitted after my presentation. "You've thought of everything." By November, all 3 contracts were in the final stages. The legal teams were reviewing terms, and signatures were just weeks away. I was working 18-hour days, coordinating with legal, finance, and operations teams. My assistant Jennifer was booking conference rooms back-to-back. Margaret Chun called me into her office on a Tuesday morning. "Sarah, the board is thrilled with your progress on these contracts," she said, her usual stern expression softening. "This could be exactly what we need to turn things around." I felt invincible. 12 years of grinding, networking, and sacrifice were about to pay off. I started mentally calculating my bonus, thinking about finally taking that family vacation to Disney World that I'd been promising the kids. But something felt off. Margaret's assistant had been acting strange, whispering phone calls and closed-door meetings. And I noticed unfamiliar faces in the office, well-dressed people who didn't look like typical job candidates. I was about to learn that in corporate America, your success can make you a target. December 15th. The day everything changed. I was in my office at 7 a.m., reviewing the final Microsoft contract terms when Jennifer knocked on my door. Her face was pale. "Sarah, you need to see this," she whispered, handing me a printed email. The subject line read, "Confidential, board meeting minutes, executive restructuring." My blood ran cold. The email was accidentally sent to the wrong Jennifer. There were 2 Jennifers in the company. This one was meant for Jennifer Walsh, Margaret's assistant, not Jennifer Kim, my assistant. I scanned the document quickly. Board members were discussing optimizing leadership structure and bringing in fresh perspectives with established industry connections. My name appeared several times, along with phrases like excellent performer but limited network reach, and consider external candidates with stronger relationship capital. They were planning to replace me. Right as I was about to deliver the biggest contracts in company history. I felt sick. The room started spinning. 12 years of loyalty, of 60-hour weeks, of missing my kids' bedtime stories, and this was how they repaid me? But I had to stay focused. The contracts weren't signed yet. I still had leverage. Over the next few days, I watched carefully. Margaret was taking more meetings behind closed doors. The mysterious well-dressed visitors were becoming more frequent. And then I saw her, a woman in her 40s, perfectly coiffed, wearing a Chanel suit that cost more than my monthly mortgage. Her name was Victoria Ashford, and she was everything I wasn't. Old money. Ivy League MBA. Father was a Fortune 500 CEO. She'd spent her career at top-tier firms, building relationships with other people's children who went to the same exclusive prep schools. I did some digging. Victoria had been at Goldman Sachs, then McKinsey, then a boutique consulting firm in New York. Her track record was solid, but not spectacular. What she had was something I'd never have: the right last name, the right connections, the right pedigree. The Microsoft signing was scheduled for December 22nd. Boeing would follow on January 5th. Walmart was set for January 10th. $15 million in new business that would single-handedly save the company. I worked frantically to get everything finalized. If I could get these contracts signed before they made their move, they'd have to keep me. You don't fire the person who just saved your company. But I underestimated how ruthless corporate politics could be. Sometimes the game is rigged before you even know you're playing. Act 4, The Betrayal. January 8, 2024. A date burned into my memory forever. I was in my office, celebrating. Microsoft had signed on December 22nd, $8 million locked in. Boeing followed through on January 5th, $4 million more. The Walmart signing was scheduled for January 10th, just 2 days away. $15 million. I'd actually done it. Margaret called me into her office at 4 p.m. I walked in expecting praise, maybe discussions about my promotion to executive vice president. Instead, I found Margaret sitting with Victoria Ashford and 2 men I didn't recognize, lawyers, based on their briefcases and stone-cold expressions. "Sarah, please sit down," Margaret said, not making eye contact. The room felt like a funeral. My funeral. "I want to start by acknowledging your incredible work on these contracts," Margaret began. "The Microsoft and Boeing deals are exactly what this company needed." I waited for the but. It came faster than I expected. However, the board has decided to make some strategic changes in leadership. We need someone with deeper industry connections to help us capitalize on these wins and secure even bigger clients moving forward. My mouth went dry. What does that mean, exactly? Victoria spoke for the first time. Her voice was smooth, confident, condescending. "Sarah, you've done wonderful work, but this company needs to think bigger. I have relationships with Fortune 50 CEOs, private equity partners, and government contractors. We can turn this $15 million into $50 million within 18 months. One of the lawyers slid a folder across the table. "This is a generous severance package," he said. 6 months' salary, full benefits, and a non-compete clause that we're confident you'll find reasonable. I stared at the papers, my hands shaking. "You're firing me? After I just saved this company?" We're restructuring, Margaret said, finally looking at me. Victoria will be taking over as Senior Vice President of Business Development, effective immediately. She'll manage the Walmart signing and all future client relationships. The room was spinning. 12 years. 60-hour weeks. Missing my kids' childhood. All for this moment, to be discarded like yesterday's newspaper right when I'd proven my worth. The Walmart deal is my deal, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I spent 2 years building that relationship. Marcus Thompson trusts me. Victoria smiled. It was the kind of smile that rich people give poor people. Sarah, I went to Wharton with Marcus. We've been friends for 20 years. He's actually the one who recommended me for this position. The betrayal hit me like a physical blow. Marcus had been working with Victoria behind my back. All those meetings, all that trust one thought I'd built, it was all a lie. I need you to clean out your office today, Margaret said. Security will escort you out at 6 p.m. I'd given them everything, and they'd given me nothing but a cardboard box and a security escort. The next 24 hours were a blur of rage, tears, and disbelief. I sat in my Honda Accord in the parking lot of a Panera Bread, staring at the severance papers. Tom had taken the kids to his mother's house. He knew I needed space to process this betrayal. My coffee had gone cold an hour ago, but I couldn't bring myself to move. My phone buzzed constantly. Text messages from colleagues who'd heard the news. Most were supportive, but a few were clearly fishing for information or trying to position themselves favorably with the new regime. The worst part? Victoria had already started reaching out to my contacts. I saw her LinkedIn posts about excited to be joining the amazing team at Meridian Solutions, and looking forward to building on the incredible foundation that's been established. She was taking credit for my work before my office chair had even gotten cold. But then something interesting happened. David Park from Microsoft called me directly. Sarah, I heard what happened. I'm sorry, that's complete bullshit, he said, not mincing words. I want you to know that we signed that contract because of you, not because of some company name on a letterhead. Then Lisa Rodriguez from Boeing reached out. Sarah, I don't know what politics happened over there, but you earned that deal. Victoria Ashford called me yesterday trying to take credit for your work. I set her straight. And Marcus Thompson from Walmart? He surprised me most of all. Sarah, I need to be honest with you, he said when I finally returned his call. Victoria and I do know each other from business school, but that's not why I'm working with Meridian. The proposal you put together is the best I've ever seen. Victoria couldn't have created that in a million years. Something clicked. These weren't just contracts I'd won, they were relationships I'd built. Real relationships based on competence, trust, and results. Not prep school connections or family money. I spent the next week making calls, not to complain or seek sympathy, but to understand the landscape. What I discovered was eye-opening. Victoria's track record wasn't as impressive as it looked on paper. She'd been at Goldman Sachs for 2 years before being restructured out. McKinsey had been a lateral move after a sexual harassment scandal at her previous firm. The boutique consulting firm had let her go after she'd lost a major client due to incompetence. But her networking skills were legendary. She could get meetings with anyone, charm her way into any boardroom, and make people believe she was more capable than she actually was. The difference between Victoria and me? I delivered results. She delivered relationships. But what if you could combine both? What if the person they'd underestimated was about to become their worst nightmare? Act 6, The Counterattack. February 2024. The month I stopped being a victim and started being a predator. I used my severance money strategically. Instead of looking for another job, I decided to bet on myself. I registered Mitchell Strategic Consulting LLC, set up a home office in my basement, and started making calls. My first move was bold and risky. I called David Park at Microsoft. David, I have a proposition for you, I said. What if I told you I could deliver the same quality of work you're getting from Meridian, but at 30% less cost and with twice the attention? There was a pause. Sarah, you know I can't just switch contractors mid-project. I'm not asking you to switch. I'm asking you to give me your next project. The cloud migration initiative you mentioned last month? I can handle that. David was intrigued. We met at Gibson's the following week, and I walked him through my proposal. No corporate overhead, no account managers who didn't understand the technical details, no bureaucratic delays. Just me, a small team of experts, and a laser focus on results. This is interesting, David admitted. But can you handle a project this size? I smiled. David, who do you think managed the last project? Victoria Ashford? She's never even read a technical specification. I did the work. Now I'm just cutting out the middleman. Microsoft became my first client. A $2 million contract for cloud migration services. Lisa Rodriguez at Boeing was my second call. She was even more receptive. Sarah, I've been dealing with Victoria for 2 months now, and she's completely incompetent, Lisa said bluntly. She doesn't understand our business, keeps sending junior associates to our meetings, and missed 3 deadlines already. Boeing signed a $1 million contract with Mitchell Strategic for supply chain optimization, work that was supposed to be handled by Meridian under their original contract. But Marcus Thompson at Walmart was my masterstroke. Marcus, I need to ask you something honestly, I said during our lunch at the Capitol Grill. Are you happy with the service you're getting from Meridian? Marcus laughed bitterly. Sarah, Victoria is a disaster. She's been trying to impress me with name-dropping and expensive dinners, but she doesn't understand the first thing about logistics. Her team's recommendations would have cost us millions. What if I told you I could take over the project immediately, deliver better results, and save you 20% on costs? Marcus didn't hesitate. Where do I sign? The Walmart contract was worth $3 million, and it was work that Meridian was supposed to be doing under their original agreement. By April, I had $6 million in signed contracts. All from clients who were supposed to be working with Meridian Solutions. They'd thrown me away like garbage, but I was about to show them that one person's trash is another person's treasure. June 2024. The month everything came full circle. I was in my new office, a beautiful space in the Willis Tower with a view that made my old corner office look like a broom closet. Mitchell Strategic had grown to 12 employees, and we were booked solid through the end of the year. My phone rang. It was Margaret Chun. Sarah, I think we need to talk, she said, her voice strained. Do we? I'm pretty busy these days. Please. Can we meet for coffee? It's important. I almost said no. Almost. But curiosity got the better of me. I agreed to meet her at the Starbucks where I used to grab my morning coffee, the one on Madison Street, just blocks from Meridian's office. Margaret looked tired. Older. The stress was showing. Sarah, I'll cut to the chase. We're in trouble, she said, stirring her latte nervously. Victoria has been a disaster. We've lost the Microsoft follow-up contract, Boeing is threatening to sue us for breach of contract, and Walmart terminated their agreement last month. I sipped my coffee and said nothing. The board is asking questions. They want to know how we went from celebrating record contracts to losing our biggest clients in 6 months. That's unfortunate, I said simply. Margaret leaned forward. Sarah, I made a mistake. We made a mistake. Victoria oversold her capabilities, and now we're paying the price. I want to make this right. What does that mean? I want you to come back. Executive Vice President, 20% raise, equity stake in the company. We'll make Victoria report to you. I almost laughed. Margaret, you fired me for having the wrong connections. Now you want me back because the person with the right connections is incompetent. Sarah, please. The company is hemorrhaging money. We might not survive another quarter like this. I stood up, leaving my half-finished coffee on the table. Margaret, I appreciate the offer, but I'm not interested in cleaning up someone else's mess. Again. As I walked toward the door, I turned back. Oh, and Margaret? You might want to check your client retention reports. I think you'll find that several of your remaining clients are considering alternative options. The look on her face was priceless. 3 months later, Meridian Solutions filed for bankruptcy. Victoria Ashford quietly disappeared back to New York, where I heard she was working as a strategic consultant, corporate speak for unemployed. Mitchell Strategic Consulting ended its first year with $12 million in revenue. We'd hired 6 former Meridian employees, including Jennifer, my former assistant, who became our director of operations. But the real victory wasn't financial. It was the lesson I'd learned about my own worth. For 12 years, I believed that success meant playing by their rules, fitting into their system, and hoping they'd recognize my value. I'd sacrificed my time, my family, and my self-respect for a corner office and a title. They taught me that loyalty is a one-way street in corporate America. But they also taught me that the only person you can truly count on is yourself. I still drive a Honda Accord, though it's a newer model now. I still get my coffee from Starbucks. But now I own my success instead of renting it from people who never deserved my loyalty in the first place. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying your enemies. It's building something so successful that they destroy themselves trying to compete with you. And that's exactly what happened. Sarah Mitchell's story reminds us that in corporate America, your greatest achievement can become your biggest vulnerability. But it also shows us that when you bet on yourself, you can turn betrayal into the best thing that ever happened to you. Sometimes you have to lose everything to realize you never needed their approval in the first place.